Believe it or not, we have 49ers football coming up right around the corner as the San Francisco 49ers will play the Tennessee Titans in their first preseason game of the year. So, with that, we have our first unofficial depth chart of the year. So, let's go through some names that stand out on this depth chart, some surprises maybe from what we've seen, and just talk about the first unofficial depth chart of the year. And I think it goes without saying it's unofficial. So nothing about this is set in stone. It's just a kind of initial reaction at the depth chart as we get prepared for some 49ers football. So let's get into it. As you can see, Brandon Ayuk is listed as a starting wide receiver for the San Francisco 49ers in this unofficial depth chart. Now, we don't know what's going to happen with Brandon Ayuk. We don't know if he's going to return. We don't know if he's going to be traded. The question remains of what will happen with him. But let's take a look at the rest. Now, it's interesting because Brandon Ayuk is listed here, and you don't have Trent Williams, who is a holdout. So, a hold in player makes the unofficial, a holdout player doesn't make the unofficial. Now, so again, are we surprised by that? No, we are not. But Jalen Moore is going to get your start at left tackle, Aaron Banks at left guard, Jake Brendel at center. Obviously, you can see Spencer Burford is still listed as the right guard, but it is important to note that Spencer Pooney has been the starting right guard ever since pads come on. And obviously, we know Spencer Burford is dealing with a broken hand and is expected to miss some time. Other than that, in regards to the starting offense, no real surprise with Brock Purdy listed as a starter, Kyle Juszczyk as a starter, Christian McCaffrey as a starter. We do know Christian will not play at all in the preseason or practice during that time because he has a calf strain. Deebo Samuel at number one. So let's take a look at the second string and the second line of offense and see if anything stands out. So you can see Chris Conley, Ricky Pearsall are listed as kind of second string X wide receivers. You have Jawan Jennings listed right here behind Deebo Samuel. It kind of looks like Jordan Mason is, they're stacked on top of each other, but directly behind Christian McCaffrey. So kind of looks like Jordan Mason maybe jumped Elijah in the depth chart. I mean, it's been something that we've been watching, and Elijah is dealing with an injury himself. He wasn't practicing the last couple days of camp, so that will be something to monitor. It looks like Brandon Allen is still at least on the unofficial depth chart ahead of Joshua Dobbs. Those guys have been battling back and forth. I think I would have to say that Brandon Allen had the better camp. So I would assume Brandon Allen is able to maintain that second spot. But what stands out to me right here are the tight ends, because I've been talking about what tight ends I think should make the roster, and I've talked about three of them specifically. Obviously, we know George Kittle is going to be that guy, but I really did feel like Eric Saubert and Braden Willis have earned the tight end 2 and 3 spots respectively. I think Braden Willis should be ahead of Saubert, but I do think Saubert has shown well throughout training camp along with Braden Willis. Those guys, in my opinion, have to be your top 3 tight ends, and it appears, at least unofficially, they are. And when we look at the second line of offense, I should say, for the 49ers, you have Brendan Parker at left tackle, Jonathan Feliciano listed at left guard, which is interesting. Ben Barch at center, Nick Zakelj at right guard, and Chris Hubbard at right. Or no, I got it backwards. so flip the sides. Left tackle Hubbard, left guard Zakelj, and so on. So I had it flipped. But the interesting thing that we've been monitoring throughout training camp has been these 3 guys, Nick Zakelj, Ben Barch, and Jonathan Feliciano, because all 3 of them have rotated and been a part of the starting lineup in some capacity. Now, Nick Zakelj, the last practice I saw, was rotating with Jake Brendel with the starters at center, so that was interesting. We saw Feliciano at one point rotating with Brendel at the centers. We've seen Ben Barch get the start at guard or center based on some injuries and things like that. So it really did feel like we had a bit of a competition going on between Nick Sakel and Ben Barch. I do feel like Nick Sakel has beat out Ben Barch for that potential interior swing guy, not named Jonathan Feliciano. But I'm sure also, too, from what you've seen from this, there's a rookie that you haven't seen on here, and that is Dominic Pooney. You can see he is listed as third string. I think Dominic Pooney is going to start this game for the Tennessee Titans. And I do believe that the San Francisco 49ers intend, until anything changes, actually starting Dominic Pooney potentially during the season. So we'll see how that goes. Um, you can see you have the rest of the offensive line: Danny Gray, Tay Martin, Tanner Mordecai. Mordecai's actually came on strong, I would say, late in camp. That he was seldom used early on, but he started to get some run as we progressed. Patrick Taylor and Isaac Garendo were dealing with injuries at the end of camp, and haven't really seen a ton from those guys at the end, but Taylor showed well. Isaac Garendo obviously didn't participate in training camp at all from my vantage point. Ronnie Bell, Trent Taylor had strong camps. Cameron Latu had another camp where he struggled, so I would be surprised if he makes the roster, but we shall see. Jacob Kirkland, Jacob Cowing, and Jonte Kirkland. I actually went on a little bit of a rabbit hole with Kirkland. He actually looks like a pretty solid wide receiver who played really well in the UFL last year. Cowing's been solid, but he has been hurt for the majority of it. Lewis Kidd newly signed, Jarrett Kingston, Mason Pline, and Logan Thomas. I don't think Logan Thomas makes this roster just based on the fact that he hasn't been available all of training camp. And even when he was available, he wasn't really making plays. So I don't think he makes the roster. I think Mason Pline is a good practice squad guy. I like what I've seen from Frank Darby too, but I think he's a practice squad guy. And then these three running backs are going to get a lot of run in preseason. I think Cody Schrader should get a lot of run, Matt Breida as well, and Keyshawn Vaughn. So it's going to be very interesting to see what that looks like. So let's get over to the defensive side. You got Leonard Floyd, Malik Collins, Javon Hargrave, Nick Bosa. No surprise there. Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles, Fred Warner, Devondre Campbell. I think Demetrius has been banged up a little bit through camp, and even if he wasn't, D. Winters was definitely getting run with the starters. So I wouldn't be surprised if the starting Sam linebacker will be D. Winters moving forward. But Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles is a phenomenal special teamer, great locker room guy. I think there's a spot for him on this roster, but we'll see. You've got Diamador Lenore starting at two positions. They're like, you know what? We got two Diamador Lenores, so we're just going to start him at nickel corner and right cornerback. it's like, dang, man. We're starting two Diamador Lenores. You also have Jair Brown, George Odom. No surprise there. So if we get on over, so it does look like, oh, look, we got two Renardo Greens as well. We apparently have a cloning machine. No, I'm just kidding. But Ambry Thomas, Rock Yassin, Isaac Yadam, who I believe is dealing with an injury. So I imagine we're going to see a ton of Renardo Green, Rock, Ambry in preseason. Curtis Robinson has run with the ones. D. Winters or Jalen Graham got some opportunities with the ones as well. So it'll be fascinating to see what the linebacker rotation looks like. Yetur Gross-Matos is going to get a ton of playing time. He's going to play a lot this year in a bunch of different roles. Kevin Givens, Jordan Elliott also will get playing time this year. And Robert Beal Jr., I think, is a big it's a big preseason for him. I think the 49ers would love to see him make an impact early on. And as we keep moving through the depth chart, Alex Barrett, T.Y. McGill, Clyde Davis, Austin Bryant, Sam Okuwanu. Nothing crazy there. Nothing crazy in regards to backup linebackers or cornerbacks. So everything else is par for the course. I think if we look down here at starting returners, Trent Taylor's listed as your starting punt returner. Kickoff return is Ronnie Bell. Now, I would say that based on the new kickoff rules, and what we saw in practice, the starters were actually Deebo Samuel and Kyle Juszczyk. But Ronnie Bell has been working quite a bit as a returner. I think Ronnie Bell's really trying to kind of solidify his roster spot with Ronnie Bell, or with being a returner. So you can see Ricky Pearsall is listed over here, but I'm not sure what we will get with Pearsall. You could see Trey Greenlaw, Talanoa Hufanga on the PUP. We just found out yesterday that Drake Jackson is done for the season. Obviously, Trent Williams isn't reported, so not a ton of crazy surprises, but a fun look at the 49ers first depth chart. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comments below. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more updates.